So I've got an interesting question for you.
All
It's
right.
something that weighs on my mind here and there whenever I buy a ticket. Uh, I like to think that buying a lottery ticket involves some fantasy work. Fantasy work.
Oh yeah.
Um, and part of the fun of buying that lotto ticket is, oh man, what if I won? What would I do with all of this newfound money? And there's some fun involved with daydreaming of what you would do, how it would change your life. Also, the fears that would come with it.
Yeah, you know what? You're actually right about that, I think. Um, the idea, I mean, some people piss on the lottery, you know what I mean? And I
Yes.
mean, it's a numbers game. And
And I should point out that in most states, it does help fund education and whatnot.
yeah, I mean, there's the good that I can't say for certain that all that money that they claim is going to the schools is going to the schools, but I hope it does. And that's
You
part of the
hope it does.
fantasy. I think that that's part of the fantasy. But
It's
if you,
either schools or senators' need for hookers and blow.
yeah, it's one of the two. There's no in between. It's there's no,
I'm doing some blow off of some skanky hooker's ass.
thank you, lottery. Uh, I think though. I think though that. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, like your local state lottery is still $1, right? So your classic lottery, and then they've always got about 10, 15 other games that you can usually get for $1 or $2. But the two main ones are always going to be Mega Millions and Powerball. And right now, Mega, I think it is like 893 million or something like that, and Powerball's like 690 something. So between the two of them, well over $1 billion. So for $4,
Just out of curiosity, what if one person happened to win them all in that week?
well,
Would the
that would be
SEC
insane.
or the federal be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember, there was a time a while ago where there were like 6 or 7 winners of this massive lottery, which it was considered
Yes.
just the odds mathematically did not work out that this could possibly happen. Like it was insane odds against it. And when they talked and investigated with the people who won, every one of them said the same thing. You remember what it was? They got their numbers from a fortune cookie.
Yes.
So they just all happened to get the same numbers. You know, because you got to imagine in the fortune cookie factory, it's kind of a repetitive process. Like they'll do X amount, but then they get back to that certain, you know, let's say do a run of 1,000 or, 10,000 cookie fortunes. It's going to get repetitive on the numbers. It's going to get repetitive on the fortune at some point. But this was very unique because, like, apparently they all got the same run of that particular fortune cookie. So I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do the fortune cookies, but I'm going to guess that they run the same print probably 1,000 to 10,000 times or more. And then they just kind of mix up all the cookies, and they try to shoot them into different chutes and, get a nice mix. But you got to imagine that they're running the same thing over and over and over again. And these 6 people just happened to be the 6 people in the world that went, you know what, I'm going to use this number and get a lottery ticket. And they all won. And I thought that was kind of cool. But getting back to your point, the idea that something so reasonably priced, if nothing else, gives you the opportunity for that fantasy, whether on the way to work or on the way home, you know what I mean? That even if it's only 15, 20 minutes that you get to spend in that little fantasy world of yours, it can really brighten your day. You know what I mean? You know that the chances are against you, but man, after you buy that ticket and you're sitting in your vehicle and you're at a red light thinking, I think that it just creeps in. I think that the thought just creeps in. What if I won? Because, I mean, you did spend $2 or $4 or however much you spent on the tickets.
And you can't win if you don't play.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's true, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very low level of entry as far as like financially. You know, I mean, most people can come up with, you know, $6 to $10 or whatever a week to throw at a lottery. And like I said, even if it's a small thing, you know what I mean? Like, you know, one of those, like, you win $1,000 a week for life or something like that. That's still life changing. You know what I mean? That's still, for a lot of people, that you know, that makes a big difference.
You know what it would change for me? It would change the fact that I would have a higher class of friends that I could piss off.
Yeah, for you, that's probably true. But, like, do you know anyone that's ever won the lottery?
No.
I actually do.
I take that back. There, back in the day at the station, there was an old man who used to come in and play every single day the daily threes and the daily fours.
Okay.
And he kept track of the numbers daily in notebooks.
Oh.
And was
hardcore.
Convinced
he was making it a part-time job.
Yes. Yeah, he was a security guard. Easily in his 70s. And I used to always ask him, you ever win more than, like, you know, $10 or something? And he started showing me his tax returns where he was clearing $1.2, $1.4 million a year. Just playing daily threes, daily fours.
What the fuck was he doing as a security guard then?
Insurance.
Ah, okay, yeah, makes sense.
And he
probably could have afforded
all this money. He was like, there is a formula to it. I was like, seriously? He's like, yeah. And he always promised me to show me the trick to it. Because I'd be like, you got to show me your trick. And he's like, and he was very adamant on I could show you it. It won't diminish my wins any.
Right.
Which is true.
It's absolutely true. You can have as many people win the daily three. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change the prize.
Correct. And towards the end, because he would come in for years, and he eventually, I think he was too old to work, and he would call to get the daily three, daily four numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd give them to him over the phone. He would have his wife collect the numbers when he would call in to get the numbers, because I trusted him that much to punch him in and set him aside. But he did pass away. It turns out that an acquaintance of mine, it was his uncle, and he had no idea that his uncle was doing this, and threw out all the notebooks because they cleared out the house.
Oh, fuck.
And when I made the connection, I was like, holy shit, you're little Ronnie that he used to talk about, my buddy Ron. And he was like, yeah, you knew him? And I would be like, yeah, he had all these notebooks with numbers. And he's like, oh shit, I threw those away. Like, you son of a bitch.
So obviously he wasn't like a big spender. He wasn't somebody that lost his shit. He was somebody that was literally taking it seriously and trying to figure out the best way to win. See, that's kind of cool. So buddy of mine won. He didn't win a big lottery, you know, but it was big at the time. Mm-hmm. So he won I don't even know how much, but he ended up taking it in lump or in payments over time.
Okay.
Which for him was probably pretty smart, because he went off the fucking, like, his yearly paycheck that he was getting from it was not huge. Okay. By any stretch, and not life changing, not like, oh, I can take the year off, you know, and wait till next year to get my next check. It was none of that. You know,
there was the older, well, in his 60s, there was a guy who won at a station. He won like 150,000.
Oh, really? But even that's not life changing.
No, but
it's definitely this year and the next couple of years are changed for the better.
He, because the station sold him that winning ticket, we got X amount of money.
Yeah, every time.
Not huge. Like, I don't know.
I think it's 1%.
Yeah, something like that.
Right.
And he threatened to sue the station to get that money.
Oh.
Yeah. which did not work out in this.
No, because it's not it's not the way the program's set up. That's not the way the law works. But the reason I bring up this,
demanding that money, but no.
The reason why I bring up this guy that I knew, and I was very good friends with him for a very long time, but he went off the rails. It was hookers and blow, and believe it or not, it was more blow than hookers. So like for him, he was definitely into blow.
The devil's dust.
He enjoyed the devil's dust like no. He didn't like doing it, but he loved how it smelled. So he ended up.
Tell me, does this smell like chloroform?
Exactly. So he ended up. I mean, like I said, he did well. You know what I mean? But that was just his little extra bump. And honestly, I think bump.
Bump.
Yeah. I honestly think at the end, or when I stopped hanging out with him, I know he went into rehab for a while, but like there was a period of time there, and it was really
the
weird.
Only bump I'd be interested in is bump in a Jeep.
But it was interesting because I remember I was in high school when I knew this guy, and he was an adult. You know what I mean? He wasn't like much older. He was like 22, 23, and he won like when he was 20. So it was a big deal in his eyes. And everyone around him too. You know what I mean? Like you fucking won the lottery. Guess who's buying dinner, bitch? But that was the problem is that he was not mature enough, I think, to, even though it wasn't like life altering amount of money, it altered his life, but not for the better. So, and that was like, it was less than $1 million. It was probably $500,000 that he won. And like I said, it was in his case a good thing that his dad told him, you take the yearly payouts because otherwise it's going to be all gone. His dad knew him well enough to know that. But now you look at, they've added all these different games. So there's a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different amounts that you can win. And your anticipation and your fantasy are dictated by what the payout could potentially be, So like if you're a guy working, the three, daily 3 and daily 4, you're not thinking you're going to get like life-altering money like that guy did unless you have a real program. And I've actually met some guys that they'll drop $200-300 a week on daily 3, daily 4, and they've got a system. How well it works, I don't know, but they seem to be doing all right. But I look at the bigger ones, you know what I mean? So like I look at Powerball, I look at Mega Millions, and I look at, Classic Lotto as well. So those are the 3 that I typically buy. And I buy like Classic Lotto because I think not as many people are giving that the love. So there's a smaller pool of competition each drawing than in comparison to a multi-state like a Powerball or Mega Million. However, with that being said, having added that extra digit, I think it was on, I don't remember if it was Powerball or Mega. Anyway, it might have been both. These jackpots have gotten insane. I mean, there's been a couple that have already been over $1 billion. And I think about that. I think about, like, that's where my fantasy is. You hit a jackpot that's, either just shy or just above $1 billion, right? What do you even, I mean, like, what do you do first? And I would say you have to take out the logical. Mm-hmm. All right. So the logical is everyone says, I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to take care of my friends. Okay, great. Yeah. All right. So that's all well and good, but that's not really, at least for me, Fantasyland. That's kind of what I do on a daily is take care of family and friends. Correct. So that's going to happen regardless. It's just who I am. I'm just going to make sure those who are close to me.
Looking for examples of what you would do for fun, or what are you going to do next is what you're looking for.
Yeah, like how where do you go a little bit, like, is this off the tracks or is this okay? You know what I mean? Because I think that when you're talking about having $1 billion, okay, you can get real stupid real quick. So obviously, first thing, you need somebody who's going to help protect your money. You need somebody that's a financial planner. That's your first dollar spent, in my opinion. But you go into it saying, look, I know you're here to protect my money. There are certain things that are going to happen right out of the gate that we need to agree on, right? So, yeah, I'm going to take care of my dad, put him in a nice place. I'm going to, take care of this friend, this family member, that family member. And let's say that comes up to $50 million, right? And you have won a cool billion, like in your pocket, right? Like after taxes, after everything, after all the bullshit, you take a one-time payout, it's $1 billion. And even if it was $100 million that you spent on friends and family, and you built that into your financial plan, right? So now you're down to 900 million. But you've taken that 100 million and you went and you've set that aside. So like, yeah, you go and you take care of, friends and family and you get them all back to zero plus a little in the bank account, right? And that's 50 million. And then another 50 million, is set aside for when they come asking for money again, which they will. And that's the big, like every time you hear about big lottery winners, they often tell you that the biggest problem was they were too generous and they gave away too much, or they thought that they could make a business work and they took a bigger chance than they should have, or bit off a bigger bite than they should have. And then they're fucking bankrupt and in worse shape than they could have ever have been. So I would really want to make sure that didn't happen. And I think the only way you can make sure that doesn't happen is by right out of the gate setting aside, let's call it now, 200 million. That is just set aside that you don't touch. That's for retirement. Like,
yeah, me personally, I would set aside probably twice that, just because I am that. Set aside 200 in one account, set aside 200 in another, and that other is rainy day, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, I think you have to have that. Okay. So now let's say
backup to the backup.
So that covers about $500 million. Okay.
Yes.
So all those things that the normal things, right? So that 500 million has taken care of all those normal things. And I'm not even going to talk about the idea that you've even approached the point of buying a property and building on it, and what kind of house and what kind of estate are you going to build? Like that's coming out of that second 500. Okay. So you've got 400 stashed, 100 set aside for friends and family. 500 is now, okay, I'm going to build my estate. I'm going to travel. I'm going to, lose my shit on this insane purchase or that insane thing. So what are those things for you? So first off, how many acres and where?
Personally, I have a feeling I would be tempted in, my current location, I would probably buy 20 acres, nothing huge, nothing insane. I don't need 1,000 acres, even though that would be cool. But if the price was right.
Yeah. But I'm talking about like, this is where I'm like, it's manageable. This is, forget like being able to hire people to take care. I'm talking about it's just you. Because the more people that you involve in that, like, oh, now I have to have, a staff of fucking outside workers and people to take care of, everything outside property wise, as far as like landscaping and all that shit. I personally don't want to be in a position where I have to do that. It's one thing to have a guy mow your fucking lawn. It's another thing to have, 12 gardeners on your fucking property every day, where it's part of like this is you work for me. That's what your job is. You make $60,000 to $80,000 a year, each of you, from me to keep my yard looking nice. That's not a level that I'm interested in myself. You know, like I said, it's one thing to have a crew come in once a week and, you know, cut your lawn and trim things and maybe pull some weeds and make sure your flower beds are okay. But when they're live-in or they're there like punching in daily, that seems a bit much. Okay, so 20 acres.
Yes, 20 acres. I would be tempted to also purchase, you know, a little tiny cabin, maybe on the outskirts of Montreal, Canada. Because I love Canada.
Mm-hmm. Who doesn't?
Nothing huge, just something small. And there's opportunities to purchase. Essentially, it's a camping spot to put it an RV, and I would probably put it somewhere in Florida.
Okay.
Just to, at any time, you can go between the three. Take vacations, if you will. I would also, as a side business venture and just for shits and grins, if I didn't purchase one of those, maybe not the Florida thing, I don't know yet. Those damn hurricanes, I tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would see if you wanted to go in on a bar in Ireland.
Oh, I would totally do that.
I feel like that would be a luxury, but something fun. Just to do it.
It wouldn't even have to be Ireland. I mean, I think it would be great, but it wouldn't have to be Ireland. It could be, you know.
This is true.
Like if you're going to do something like that, you could do that in any number of places. You could do that in the United States. Just do the best Irish fucking pub, you know, in the state. You know, you just really put the effort in. So that you would want to have like at least one business, and it would preferably be like a pub.
Yeah, a pub. You know, I would love to serve food. I would gladly go through a course or whatever just to learn basics of making more food. But
well, I think if you're gonna do a good pub, you got to have good pub food.
Yes, good fish and chips, gourmet grilled cheeses.
You know, that doesn't sound. Yeah, that doesn't sound ridiculous to me at all. I mean, believe it or not, there's a lot of people doing gourmet cheese, grilled cheese nowadays.
Yes, but one caveat, if you will, is I would love to open in the mornings and maybe not serve beer. I don't know.
Why not?
Depends on what the customers
third shifter.
But offer a really cool cereal bar.
Oh, I'd love to do a cereal bar. See, that's
a cereal bar.
That's something.
And in the morning, just streaming old school cartoons from the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Dude, did I tell you I wanted to do a cereal bar?
Yes, I've never forgotten that.
Okay.
Because I think that is probably the most important and popular comfort food in the entire world.
Shit. I love a bowl of cereal. Like, it's one of those things where I would love to do a cereal bar with, you know, where it's basically you can just sit and you can, in your booth or at your seat or whatever, you got your own personal monitor and you can pick your Saturday morning cartoon that you want to watch, no matter what it is. Yeah. You can just sit there, eat a bowl of cereal, and watch Saturday morning cartoons.
I will never forget the immortal and wise words of one. Oh God, now I can't remember his name. Shit.
What's the quote?
The dude from Jurassic Park, The Fly.
Jeff Goldblum.
He was asked during a little small interview, it was on Thanksgiving, what he was most thankful for. And his answer has always stayed with me, which is, I am most thankful for breakfast cereal because there is nothing more comfortable, more homey than a good bowl of cereal. And I was like, yes.
Totally agree. So it's a breakfast cereal any time of day is total comfort food.
Right behind my computer screen here is a box of Cinnamon Life.
See, how can you go wrong? I mean, like, there's so many good cereals. So,
Yeah.
like,
Behind me, there's some Special K because I like the Special K.
I never liked Special K. Like, I've always and I've been teased over the years mercilessly. I've always been a really kids cereal guy. So
I do. I love kid cereal. I
Frosted
have to watch my
Flakes.
sugar though.
Frosted Flakes.
Up above, I have a little carton of Doomsday Frosted Flakes
Yeah.
just in case.
So, like, I love Frosted Flakes. I love
Cocoa Krispies.
Cocoa Krispies.
And the dead heat battle between Cocoa Krispies and Cocoa Pebbles.
I'm more of a Pebbles. Cocoa Pebbles is more my jam than Krispies.
There's something about the shape. They're just easy crunchable.
Yeah, no, I love them all. That's the thing. Like, but my top ones, off the top of my head, would be obviously Frosted Flakes, Apple Jacks, Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast
Captain Crunch is a double-edged sword because while it's
delicious.
Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries is my jam, but you basically have to put your mouth in
out of order for
the emergency room because it's going to tear the fuck out of your mouth.
So if I did my top 5, it would probably be that's tough. So Frosted Flakes, Apple Jacks, Cocoa Pebbles. Did I say Fruit Loops already?
No.
Fruit Loops, Captain Crunch, with or without Crunch Berries. I'm not into the peanut butter and all that shit. I don't want that. But
how dare you?
Corn Pops, just in the Captain Crunch, I don't like it. Like I've had.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
I just don't
I
like
thought
it.
You meant peanut butter in general. My bad.
No. Peanut butter is my it's the. If I have a jar of Jif and a fucking spoon, I can live.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
like I don't need anything
Same
else. All right, and that's my problem. Is like I think there was a time that you guys came over, and if I'm not mistaken, one of you was impressed with my cereal collection. But what I've realized,
if you were on Facebook, you would have seen the several posts over the last 15 years where I have like 11 to 15 boxes of cereal lined up on the kitchen counter.
That's the way I was too. And I think I think that goes back to Mom more than anything, is because she always knew that if nothing else, good times, bad times, if we had cereal, we were fed.
The Honey Crisp.
Honey Crisp, that was one that was around a lot. Corn Pops, still dig Corn Pops. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, though, there's nothing like the milk afterwards. And I assume you're the same as me. Like, the only reason to eat cereal is to kill like a half gallon of milk. And use like a big
Let me
mixing
grab
bowl.
this salad bowl.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if we're doing this, let's do it. Let's go. Let's do this way, with the biggest fucking spoon and the biggest bowl and as much cereal. I mean, like, I'll even jam with some Cheerios, Honey Nut Cheerios.
I love Honey Nut Cheerios. I am huge in the chocolate peanut butter Cheerios. Those are
I've never had them.
Good.
Never had them.
Oh, yeah. Get them.
All right. Well, like I said, when it comes to cereal.
A friend of mine had a box of cereal and poured all the milk into the bowl, into the box, into the wrapper, and ate it like that. I was like, you uncouth caveman.
Yeah.
How are you even going to get your hand in there?
That's not even fair to do
Put
to
yourself
your cereal.
A big bowl.
For $4.99 a box, go fuck yourself. You just ruined it. You got to have some class.
I don't care if you put the pinky up with a spoon.
No,
I don't care about that.
I'm totally pinkies up. I don't care. You can say what you want. I'm pinkies up. I'm pinkies up with a glass. I'm pinkies up with a fucking bowl of cereal. And you know what? You can go fuck yourself if you got a problem with that. That's my stance on pinkies up.
What are you drinking right now?
Right now I've got
Mountain Dew?
Diet Mountain Dew and
All right.
Small, small little bit of Lagavulin 16.
Nice, nice. I
A nice little
I should have
sipper for
grabbed
after.
it. I've got a pint of Goose Island barrel aged stout that is phenomenal in the fridge. Every night I get a little bit of it
Little sniffer.
because it's 14.6% alcohol.
Oh, so it wakes you up quick.
Yeah, it wakes me up quick. It's delicious.
I'll have to try that.
I would love to invest in a brewery, but I feel like that is
No, see, I would
asking
not.
for trouble.
No.
Yeah,
Nope.
see, I feel
No.
like I would be asking for trouble.
No. I'll tell you right now. If I was putting my money into any type of an alcohol, it would be one of two. And I don't even like one of them. Okay.
What?
No, I don't. I'm not a wine drinker. Okay. But I
make wine.
I love looking at vineyards. I love the process of the growing of the grapes. I would like that would be one thing that if I won the lottery, I would have a vineyard. Now, whether that vineyard was for winemaking or whether it was for table grapes, I would definitively have a vineyard. I
would
I
help you
don't
run it
know.
then,
I don't
'cause I
know
make wine.
why I'm fascinated with grapes. I love eating them. Like for me, it's a table grape. That's the best.
It is the magical thought of this thing is on a vine growing. You can take it off, squish it, extract the juice, have the skins for the tannins, and make an alcohol.
Yeah.
Something that is
But
handcrafted.
that to me is for as amazing as that part is, and that is amazing. I don't like wine. I don't like wine at all. I'm not interested in wine at all.
Well, stop whining about the wine.
I'm going to.
Would you like some cheese with that wine?
I would love some. Now, cheese. Now we're talking.
Yeah, I with land would love to have some cows, some mini cows.
Well, then
so that I can make
then you're only going to get those
artisanal.
little tiny cheeses.
That's all right. I would feed that cow some chocolate so I can get some chocolate milk.
Jackass.
Make sure that they're a brown cow because that they're more inclined to make chocolate milk if
yeah.
it's brown.
But if I were to invest in something, I would probably invest into and I don't think it would actually be in the United States. I think even though technically you could probably get away with it, but I would probably invest in some sort of distillery. Probably whiskey. But that would be something that I could get behind because of the craft and the process of it. And it's the same with wine. There's a craft and a process to it that I admire. So like I'm really, really into and you continuously tease me about it, and I'm not going to let it go. I'm into when people geek out on things. You know what I mean? So like for me, when there's a true either passion, like this is it. This is what creams my corn. This is what really gets me going. That's one thing. And whatever that may be. So that, you know, but on the other hand, I like the idea of a craft, something that you have to put the time in, you know? So like even you know, the guys that make the Coopers that make the whiskey barrels,
the barrels,
dude, that in general, it's a simple idea and concept, you know, in theory.
There's a weird sickness in me that would love, I don't know why I feel so strongly about it, but I would love to open up a bowling alley with a diner attached.
Like an old school, like a 50s, 60s bowling alley with a diner type thing, or like or
just
like
old
more
school 15 lanes.
See, I like it.
Diner
I like it.
attached.
But I mean, at least in my opinion, what was that? There was a like the Cool Hip Place bowling alley in LA, and they had some across the country or whatever. But it was essentially like you could get a really good meal, and then they had like 10 lanes, right? And you would inevitably go there and see some sort of a star. You know what I mean? Like they might have
I
have
find
their lanes sectioned off, but depending on how big of a star they were,
Mhm.
and goddamn, I can't think of
there's
the name.
just something about a bowling alley. It just seems like everything is right in the world. Listen to that sound.
Yeah,
The balls being
I don't
bowled.
mind bowling alleys, but for me,
If I had the money and could go back in time, I would buy Sunnybrook
yeah, Sunnybrook went through
golf
some shit.
course
Yeah. They went through
and
some hardcore I think mob shit, if I'm
oh
not
really?
mistaken. Yeah. Um Hold on, I'm trying to see if I can find this bowling alley in LA. It's bothering me now because I had a friend of mine that worked there and I should know the
But
name of it.
I would make that bowling alley look very 50s ish with modern convenience of like the scoring and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
So, all right.
just make it fun
So you put
with a bar, a diner,
so you
a
would
greasy
put
spoon.
so between all right, let's call it a combination of you get your Saturday morning cartoon breakfast bar, cereal bar. You get your bar wherever in the world, and your bowling alley, right? With its diner.
I would also say that I would take the time and a giant wad of cash and go to random grocery stores and just sit in the front playing a video game, vaping, whatever I can get away with, just chilling in the front and just pick people out of the crowd. I'll pay their tab. I
So
don't want recognition,
yeah,
just a subtle little signal to the grocery checkout lady that don't charge them. I'll pay it. Don't charge them. I'll pay
I
it.
think that's actually really cool. But I don't see that as, I mean, like that's something you could do once, twice a week or whatever, just for your own sense of like I'm doing something good for my community. Uh,
Mhm.
and I agree with that. I think, you know, if you can do something good to give back to your community, that's fucking amazing.
I would also elect to dress up as Santa Claus and show up at a children's hospital
That's cool.
and
Yeah.
bring some toys.
See, you're a lot nicer than I am. You really are. Like I wasn't even thinking about fucking anyone else. Like, what am I gonna do with this $1 billion?
It's simple little things like that that can change someone's week or their month
Or their life.
or their lives.
Yeah, you can change people's lives.
Um,
See, that's the thing is like for me, if I had that kind of money, I don't know that I would sit at the grocery store and pay for people's groceries. But what I would do, and this I think you know about, I'm not fucking around. What I would do is I would be present in public. You know what I mean? Like I would be listening, actively eavesdropping on people. Because a lot of times I've heard it all over the place.
The proverbial walking through a store, you find someone that you might not think can afford stuff, or you hear,
Yeah.
and you walk by them and, oh, sir, I think you dropped this $100 bill.
Yeah. Like stuff like that. Like I like the idea of, you know, catching people in a moment where I guess I hate the fact that we are a society that exists, exists solely highs and lows based on financial status. I think that when something bad financially happens, it's one of the most devastating things, even if it's a small thing. You know what I mean? Like I've heard people going, "Oh, well, you know, it's, you know, they're talking to somebody on the phone going, well, it's a choice between groceries or paying the phone bill. So I guess we're going to buy the groceries, aren't we?" You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And you think to
Yeah.
yourself, man, I could just hand them, $300, $400, $500, and that would change, at least for that moment, their life. You know what I mean? Or you hear people just with bad experiences where it's like, and oftentimes it's not a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like oftentimes it's $1,000, $500. It's usually
Yeah.
less than 10 grand. Can change a
Sometimes
lot.
it's as simple as a house payment.
So yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So let's say you got let's say you got a $2,500 house payment, but you're $500 short.
Mhm.
Well, an extra $1,000 not only gets you that house payment taken care of, but it gets you groceries until your next paycheck. Those are the types of things that I would be much more inclined to do. But what I really am interested in,
I would also want to see parts of the world.
well, this is what we're getting at. This is what I'm getting at. Okay. So the businesses, we are almost identically aligned. Definitely the, Saturday morning cartoon cereal bar. That is a absolute fantasy for me.
Mhm.
Having a really cool bar. I would think that would be a lot of fun, cool restaurant bar. Bowling alley, I could take or leave of that.
It's something weird for me.
Yeah, I know for you. You've
I
always
don't
done.
know why.
No, and it's your $1 billion.
I think it's because I grew up going to weekly the bowling alley with mom and dad.
Yeah,
and
you were
bowling is fun. I'm not very competitive with it. If I break 100, cool. I bowl strictly because I think it's fun. I'm not very good at it.
Let me ask you this: would that be satisfied if you just had a house that had 2, 3, 4, 6 lanes?
Thought about that.
You know what I mean?
So I thought about that.
That's why I say, like, you kind of surprised me on where you go with a few of these things, because to me, yes, obviously we've covered out, friends, family, blah, blah, blah. All right. And for you,
I think buying a bowling alley affords me an opportunity to also hire people to take care of something so I don't have to do it and they get paid.
see, again, I think you're thinking, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. I thought if when you approached me with this for a podcast, I thought, this is kind of this seems lame, but it's actually interesting. It's actually a lot more interesting than I would have thought, because it's
Get into
showing
someone's psyche.
Yeah, but it's showing me a different side of you that is little bit surprising, and in a good way.
And also, I would make a very generous donation, despite the fact that I am an atheist, to St. Jude charity to help children. I think that is a very noble cause.
Fuck those sick little motherfuckers.
Get off the TV, you sick kid.
God. If I got to look at, and for $35 a week, you can also have this beautiful little Shriner's blanket.
Can I just buy the kid? Make him a
Just
slave?
fucking pay for the kid. No, I'm joking, obviously.
Yeah.
Again, that's not necessarily where I would go. I agree. St. Jude's does phenomenal work. I don't donate. I really try not to. I try not to donate to organizations that have CEOs, because no matter how noble the institution is, unless I am absolutely guaranteed that there is no middleman, skimming off the top between the check I write and the assistance that it provides for the people that I intend that check to provide assistance to. I know some people will think, oh, he's an asshole. No, I just see that there's a lot of really, really big paychecks for CEOs and presidents of charities and the people that are running the charities versus what is actually making it down per dollar of donation to the people who need it. So that's something I would have to really, and I don't know enough about how the corporate structure works at St. Jude's to be able to speak badly of them.
Something that we do is there are times we go through a drive-through and we pay for our order and pay for the car behind us. We'll try to start that off.
Again,
The
you're a much better
difference
person than I am. I don't even tip if I pick up the pizza.
I'll give the person at the window the option of telling the person behind us that Satan loves them.
Oh, that's fucking hysterical.
The
car in front of you just wants you to know that they've paid for your order and Satan loves you. That's now that I would do. That is something I would do.
Which is beautiful when I've been forced to go through a drive-through at Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
Because I have done that at Chick-fil-A.
Oh, that's even better.
And I get that weird look because they're a bunch of Christo-fascists.
Yeah. So like one of the things that I'm realizing is that in many ways you're a much nicer and better person than I ever could be.
I was in Arkansas, and there's a lot of homeless people begging, panhandling in Arkansas,
right,
on street corners. And many a times we'd pull up to a red light, and they'd have a sign up looking for any kind of donation. And literally, I'd have a bag of food that we just got, arm out the window. And I've never had them say no. They're seriously? Yeah, it's still hot. Go for it. I can go back through a drive-through.
See, again, that's a lot. And I think maybe I would be more inclined to do that, if I had $1 billion. But there's also that
Some
idea.
People donate their time at soup kitchens or whatever. I have never really done that because
my buddy Dan donates. He donates a ton of time. Like, yeah, I look at him
when
and
I've
like,
looked
Jesus.
into it. It's always been like, oh, we're full up on volunteers, but thank you. Also, I feel like that is the least you can do.
And that's something
there's
like
a part of me that's like, oh yeah, I'm giving time.
That's something again, like if I had,
I'd rather get my feet into the muck and help some way.
I could see myself doing that much more. I have not made time for that. But in my defense, I've also spent the better part of the last decade taking care of our elderly parents. So I really haven't had time.
Yeah, I hear you.
To donate. So that's never been something that's been on my mind. But my buddy Dan, he's done so much. He's donated so much time. And he's such a genuinely good person. You know what I mean? Like, even like listening to you, like you and Dan probably think a little bit more along the same line when it comes to generosity of time or generosity of cash to people than I do. But I've also had some different experiences. So like I used to give to homeless people. I'd be traveling the country or whatever and, for my job. And I would always have, like if I was in a big city, especially, I would always have right pocket and left pocket money. And right pocket money was for anyone that I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I'm, you're asking if I could donate. All right, fine. Here's, so I'd have, $20, $30 in singles and maybe a couple fives or whatever in that pocket. And then the other pocket was, fuck you. No, that's my money. But I got to the point when I lived in LA, there was a mall that we would go to and we would always see the same guy at the one particular mall entrance. And he didn't look like he was down on his luck. Let's put it that way. Right.
Yeah.
So the first time I see him, he looks a little bit down on his luck. So you go, okay, maybe he just recently lost his job. He's trying to figure it out, whatever. So then, and I always make a point, I don't know about you, but anyone that asks me for money, I look at their shoes. I learned that from a friend of mine who was homeless. Yes. There was a guy who was a buddy who I met after he was homeless, but he changed everything on my view on homelessness and panhandlers. So he said, look, you want to know if you're giving money to somebody who needs money, look at their fucking shoes. Even if they're scamming you, if they're smart enough to pay attention to their shoes, because they're standing out there for 8, 10, 12 hours, right? So the first thing on their mind is usually comfort. So if you look down and you see a nice pair of shoes or a comfortable pair of shoes that looks relatively new, they're not homeless. They're playing the game. They're just panhandlers. So I had learned this lesson. When I see this guy, first couple times I see him, nothing special as regarding his footwear. Then I see him and he's got on a brand new pair of what's the fancy hiking boot?
Keen?
Was that?
Keen?
No, the tan one, Timberlake or whatever.
Oh, Timberlands.
Timberlands, right? And I had just been in the mall looking at Timberlands. And I knew by looking at those fucking boots that he had on how much he spent on it, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to give him any money on my way out, was what I was thinking, right? So on my way out, now I'm not even in my car yet, but on my way out, I see him walking and getting into a fucking Mercedes. And that's really what turned me off on giving people money. Okay, so to kind of bring it back to what we were talking about, winning the lottery. For me, I would want, probably in Michigan, somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 100 acres or more if I could get it. Okay, but not because I want to take care of all that property. I would want that wooded. I would want that all hardwood.
Natural.
And I would carve out of that space probably 10 to 15 acres that I actually took care of. I would put a very, very ridiculous house on that. And when I say ridiculous, I don't mean ridiculous in the sense of overly big or, overly this, that. I mean, ridiculous in the sense of I would want it to be like fucking Hogwarts Castle on the outside. I'd want it to be like built to last. You know what I mean? Where you see it and you go, this is going to fucking last. I
would be tempted. I mentioned this before, to build a little castle. In my weird ass brain, there's a part of me that wants to build a castle with an underground bunker
and moat and the whole fucking deal. Because when the apes start throwing their own shit, I
used to think that it would be cool to have a moat and fill it with fish, so people we could go fishing. Let's face it, nowadays moats aren't very good at protecting.
No, unfortunately,
we have technology to get past that, but
that's almost the part of the aesthetic. That's almost part of the aesthetic, though. You gotta admit.
Maybe, it would depend.
I don't know that I would want a moat. I'm just saying I would really want to build something that, and like I said, I use the Hogwarts Castle as the example, but. The reason I use that as an example,
it would be chock full of secret passages.
Absolutely. Like absolutely. that would be my jam on that. That would totally be my vibe. Is like how many secret passages, how many secret rooms, how many secret corridors can we put in this? And I'm not talking about where you can like be creepy and fucking spy on your guests or anything like that. I'm talking about just fun. I'm just talking about the idea of how fun is it that you can like walk, open up a great big picture on the wall, step through it, and go into, a hallway that leads you into a billiards room or some shit. Like that to me is exciting. You know what I mean? Like a huge 2-story, 3-story library.
A clothes wardrobe that you open, you move the clothes.
Right.
You hit a little secret button, the back opens up, you climb in and you slide down into a secret basement.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Or you can You can slide down and you're on the main floor, and then if you really want, you can slide down and into the garage. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like having
I
different
was just thinking
different
about
little
having
routes that you could go.
a separate garage that has a bathroom that you can go down into a little corridor and walk underground up to the main house. So you never have to be outside.
Right.
And then a separate one to another garage or just out in the middle of nowhere that is an outhouse that is just horrible looking. So anybody who walks in is like, I am not walking in there.
Yeah.
That is just a hidden passageway.
Right. Like I
To
think the
get on
more
the
you
grounds
have,
if you absolutely have to. Or if you have family over and you don't want to deal with them, just zip through all the little secret passageways.
I would definitely do like all the little secret passageways and hidden rooms and stuff like that. But
by the way, anyone's listening, if you heard my outhouse theory, you are now sworn to secrecy or I will have to kill you.
yes, death is imminent. But for me, like, God, so like, I would want the underground passage to go from like the main house to like the garage or workshop type place. That would be
Yes,
absolutely, like that's happening. So I would love the secret passages and, and again, more just as a goof than anything else. It's not like, it's more about just like, this is ridiculous. This is silly. To build a house within a house.
I'm leery of saying this, but I've always wanted to study that had a nice wall of books and like the vents for heating and cooling, have them on different sides of the room. And there's one that you lay down on the ground, hit the button, and roll into, and you roll into another section of the house.
No, see, like for me, I just like the idea. I like the idea of like, you push you push the button on the bookcase and the one section of it tilts in and then you're in a different room. I like the idea of stairs.
I would publicly allow people like, close friends to know about the head, just like in Batman. You tilt the head back, you hit the button.
They sell that. They sell that head. They sell that head with the button. I looked it up. Yes.
The poles that go down into the basement.
Well, no, I mean, that would be great. But as far as like the actual, the head statue with the red button to trigger it, like in the old 60s Batman, they do sell those.
The piano in the den that you have to hit 4 or 5 keys in a specific order. Ding, ding, ding.
But that's part, like to
slides
me,
open.
That's part of the fun of winning an obscene amount of money is having, and again, it's not like you're blowing all of it on this house or this property.
Let's face it, though. If we got that, we would wait for those moments where you have friends in a room and pop out from somewhere secret. Just to scare them.
All right. So here's the interesting thing I was thinking about was one of the things that I think I would do.
Oh, and a crazy bathroom. And I'm talking a built-in little pool or jacuzzi. I haven't decided which, maybe both.
Why not?
And a big shower area where you can, it's got its own little refrigerator for beer or soda or whatever. Just at the top of a spire for a castle, so that at night you can look out on your wooded land while in the hot tub from really high up.
Oh yeah,
covered.
Like I think that that's all definitely part. But to get to the fun part of it, like the secret doors and all. You know me, I'm somebody that loves working with my hands. I love doing art, like arty, crafty shit, painting, pottery, metal work, leather work, working on engines, woodworking, you name it. If it's got tools and if it's like something that you got to take time to learn to get really good at, I'm fascinated by it. I'm just fascinated by it. So I would want a shop
to pick up a craft and just for a year travel the Renaissance Festival circuit in like your RV, so you don't have to live like a heathen.
Well, yeah. I mean, like you could do something
and
like
just
that.
do that for a year.
See, that's
just
more
for the shit of it.
Yeah, but that's more your vibe. You know what I mean? Like I for me, I don't even need to like make it to sell it as much as it's. I love getting really, really wrapped up in the moment, in the project. I like that focus. I like that you wake up, you get ready, you have a cup of coffee, you walk into the shop, and you go. Whether you're building a table, a chair, working on a motorcycle, maybe hand fabricating a tank or hand fabricating fenders, or sewing the leather together for a motorcycle seat, or doing whatever leather craft, and then you get done doing that. You go sit at a pottery wheel for a couple hours. You throw some pottery.
You creep up behind someone who's doing some pottery. And
easy.
Twine your hands.
Easy.
And,
That story is for the next episode. But you
whisper ghost into their ear. Make ghost sex.
I'm Patrick Swayze. So, but like all of those, like you've seen like those maker shops where whether it's one person that owns it or a group of people, but the idea is they get these big warehouses, 50,000 plus square feet, and they get people to donate machinery and equipment, or they get businesses to donate machinery and equipment, and then they have stalls set up to where you can spend time in that. So like if you are somebody that can't afford a plasma cutter, or you can't afford CNC equipment, they show you how to use it, and then you can use it for your project. And yeah, you're paying a fee or subscription or membership. But I think that those are really cool. I would just want that, I think, more for just me, because when you let other people play with your toys, especially your tools, they tend to fuck them up. So I would want a space, a creativity space, but also in that same space, maybe in the basement, I would want like a shooting range, an archery range, throwing axes range, throwing knives range, like 4 or 5 different ranges set up for stuff like that. And then above it, the very tippy top, I would want a place where I could kick back and relax. I would want like your perfect bar. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be big. That's the beauty of it. In fact, it's better if it's small, where it's just for you and friends, where you have just a wonderful selection of different, boozes. And then you have, and this is the difference, I would also want a weed bar. No one's ever done a weed bar.
That's true.
And I think that would be hysterical.
I've often wanted to have a giant pole barn. We're storing shit, but a section of it cordoned off, walled off, that is my own little English pub, complete with old school games, rings or whatever.
See, that would be fun. That would be fun.
Just to chill out. Another room that is just bunk beds for friends who have had too much. Go lay down.
Yeah, you got to have that, because you're going to have that. If you have an open bar, whether it's a whiskey, just alcohol bar or whiskey bar, or pot bar, you're not going to be sending a lot of those people home that night, depending on how big the gathering is. Most of them are going to be spending.
When you wake up, we're going to have some cereal and watch cartoons.
Yeah, we're going to watch cartoons in the morning. Here's your cereal bar. Like that to me is like even just like, forget making it a business. The idea that you could have this area where you could entertain, where you'd be like, this is the bar, this is the pot bar. And when you wake up in the morning, because you're going to get way too fucked up tonight, this is the cereal bar. I think that would be a riot. But
For you weirdos over there, there's a salad bar.
so like for me, part of the reason why I would want that amount of property is because I do love woodworking, and one of the things I would really love to have is enough hardwood property that I could harvest a tree, or I could take trees that have fallen naturally, drag them back, slab them out, and have my own, essentially my own mill, so that I could make whatever I wanted to make, whether it's furniture or whatever.
I would plant a crap load of fruit-bearing trees and stuff so that I could keep making wine.
That I don't doubt. I think you would do that all day long, But see, ultimately, I think the problem with winning the lottery is, everyone hears people who win the lottery, they go, it's not going to change my life. I'm still going to go to work tomorrow. And we think you're out of your fucking head. But they're not. They're not actually.
Yeah.
The reason why they do that is because they're actually smarter than most people. All right? Most people don't have the drive to get up every morning and force themselves to do something productive. But if they feel obligated to another person or a company or whatever, they do get up every morning. And I think that that's the biggest problem. So for me, I would want, like I said, I would want something that was kind of business driven, not even because I was caring about it making money or being profitable necessarily, though it would be great if it were at least breaking even, covering costs, if not profitable. But I would want that thing that goes, you have to wake up in the morning. You have to get up. There are employees depending on you to make some decisions. There are people that are counting on you. I think that is the drive is important. I think that helps people feel better, But I'll be damned if I'm not going on a lot of incredible trips while that fucking castle of a house is being made.
Speaking really quick, I know we're going on and on and on, but I have to ask you, would any of those trips be to the Grand Canyon?
No, I don't think so.
Why is it? I'm glad that we're on the same page. Cool, it's a hole in the ground. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Load up.
I mean, look. All right, so let me back this up.
Mount Rushmore. It's like, okay, let's go.
So let me back this up a little bit so it makes more sense. Again, I love working with my hands. I love making things. I love the process of taking something apart and putting it back together and making it work better. Whatever the case is, I enjoy that stuff. I like those things because they require a level of focus. I'm also fascinated with education. Yeah. So for me, I think, again, this is, I know you'll totally be on board with me on this, but for the audience, they're going to think I'm out of my fucking head. Daniel Day-Lewis quit acting for a period of time, and I think is still quit, so that he could go and learn how to be a phenomenal cobbler. And everyone thought that was insanity. And I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was fucking brilliant. Because he was not doing it for any other reason than he was curious.
In the same vein, Danny Spitz, the guitar player of Anthrax, quit the band, probably 20 years ago. And he became a watchmaker because he was fascinated with watches.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I get that. That's what I'm talking about. So like for me, one of the things I would probably be doing right out of the gate is every one of those things that I talk about, whether it's woodworking, whether it's pottery, whether it's, metalworking, whether it's leather work, like I would like do deep dives in all of them. And that would include learning how to be a cobbler. You know what I mean? Like how to make really high-end handmade footwear. And I wouldn't do it for any other reason than the joy of doing it and wanting to be able to enjoy what I made myself. And, if anyone else wanted one, okay, fine, we'll do one for you. We can do this for you. But that wouldn't be for making money. It would be for the pure joy of
The joy of it.
the joy of it. And that's what I would be looking for.
I would also pull a Metallica. They probably would hate anybody talking about it because they didn't want anybody to know, and it finally came out. But there is a school in Texas. I don't remember the name of the school, but it was like a welding program that they entirely funded for years.
See, I think that's
nobody knew
really
about.
cool. Yeah, I think that's really cool.
I would try to set up something so that I'm a firm believer that in schools, it's great. Sure, you want to go to college, try and get a scholarship.
I
That's
totally agree.
great. I'm not going to tell somebody not to. But
And more importantly, the pursuit of knowledge for the pure sake of knowledge. I will
Yes.
never criticize anyone for taking any class.
there is another part of me, and it's kind of fallen away by the wayside, and in certain places it's catching on more now, but it needs to be blanket across the country trade programs. I would find a way to fund at least one trade program at a high school where, sure, getting an education is great, but also trades like building trades, auto body, computer science,
Drafting,
nursing programs, drafting, set up an entire trade section,
cosmetology.
agriculture,
Right.
horticulture, trades. This country needs trades. The
I agree with
AI
you.
is coming,
And the only thing I
that
would
is
add to it,
fine and dandy, but an IA robot is not going to be able to fix my plumbing.
Oh, they might.
Stuff like that.
they might. You never know. They might.
Never know.
But what
But
I would,
it's-
the only
yeah,
thing
I
the
get
only
that.
thing I would add to that, okay,
Yeah.
and again, this is getting into now probably more than what you could afford, even having won $1 billion. This would be something that you would have to have several businesses set up that were being profitable in
Yes.
order to maintain, right?
Yes.
But what I would add to that, aside from every trade that you just mentioned and I mentioned, is arts. I
Yes.
would add the
Yes.
arts to it because
That is something that is also in danger. Choirs, bands, plays,
theaters,
theater. I would not be
Classical
interested
art.
in donating. What's that?
just drawing, painting,
Yes.
photography.
I would not be interested in donating $100 million to a school just to have my name on it. That's for like a library or something. No, I want a building that is, for trades, art,
Right.
some kind of center, and to get as many students as possible involved. Also, teach people how to cook, how to balance a checkbook.
How to manage their finances, how to understand.
Yes.
Yeah, like those are things that I think have gone by the wayside. And schools just, I don't know if they can't focus on it or what, but fuck. The amount of people I have spoken to over the course of years that don't understand how credit works, that don't understand interest rates, that don't understand compound interest, that don't
to go one
understand simple
further.
interest.
This isn't a part of winning the lotto, but if I was in power, I would make it. You have a construction business, you don't want to pay taxes this year, just donate material, build a house, give it away to a homeless person.
It would seem simple. That does seem almost too simple, doesn't it?
It's so
Like,
crazy.
and
it
the
just
thing
might
is,
work.
The thing of it is like it doesn't even have to be a big house anymore because mini houses
No.
or the what do they call them? Is it mini houses? What do they call them?
Tiny houses,
Was that tiny houses?
tiny house.
Tiny houses. Like in reality, and I actually looked. This will tell you where I'm coming from. There was a plot of land, right, that was
Mhm.
for all intents and purposes not going to end up being something that was going to be used for a single family home, right? The location was a little bit weird. There was a lot of weird things about that particular property, but it was being sold as something that you could build a house on. So I looked into it and I thought, well, it's a decent sized piece of land. It was like 6 acres or something like that, if I remember correctly. And I thought, what if I, instead of building one house, because we were looking at the time and thinking, okay, well, maybe we'll start, buying property and working with a contractor and going partnership on building houses. Because we have a family member who is a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And I pitched this idea of doing, instead of one house on this property, doing 6 houses. And the actual houses would have been all tiny houses, but they would have had huge basements. So like the actual house that you see, small. But it would have a basement that was massive and completely done. So like you could pick how you wanted that done. If that's where you wanted your bedroom, like if that's where you wanted, like your living space or whatever, you could have that on the basement floor, and then you could just have the upstairs. You could have your kitchen downstairs. You could have everything downstairs if you wanted, and there was just like an entry level that was small and for guests, here, have some coffee with me, type thing. And it was literally, I was like, let's call it Lilliput Lane. Let's make these tiny houses with these huge basements that are finished beautifully, with garages, the whole deal. The house itself would be about 600 to 800 square feet. The basements would be another fucking 1,500 square feet. So like your basement was where you were getting all your square footage, but technically your living space is what's considered upstairs, right? So we were talking about this, and come to find out, the city wouldn't allow anything below, I think it was 1,200 square foot to be built.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was just like, we don't want that here, not in our backyard. And I'm thinking to myself, we could build this, because finishing out a basement really, really nice and doing a tiny house on top, the square footage would have been pretty close to the same as a normal house. Okay. But because it's a basement, it's not considered square footage, apparently, even if it's finished and totally usable, even if it's subterranean, right? Like a subterranean type. So not only did we find that out, but we also found out that the vast majority of mortgage companies would only go off of square footage. And since the basement wouldn't be considered square footage, it was a no-go. So I thought that was ridiculous. You know what I mean? Because if you really, really think about it, the vast majority of, right now, the vast majority of home ownership is single women. There are more single women that own a home than single men that own a home. Okay? That's not including
men
families.
Just don't care.
No, men don't care. But if you could buy a house that had, let's say, 600, 800 square feet up top, and then, 600 to 1,800 square feet in basement space, plus a single car garage. And you could buy that.
Do you think there's a chance that men don't own as many houses because it's just, I don't want to, if I get a house, I'm going to have to do shit. 200 years of husband, go out there and do this.
I think so.
Turned us into.
No, I do think so. Because given the choice, but I spent the vast majority of my life living in condos, my adult life, with some apartments, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea of buying a house and having them fucking take care of shit, like outside, like mowing the lawn and doing snow removal, fuck. Like, no, thank you. Like, I'm not
a big fan of mowing the lawn, but I do like shoveling snow.
I did not get
fucking weird.
Yeah, it turns out I don't mind mowing the lawn, and now that I've got, something that I can plow with, I don't mind plowing. But in all honesty, like the day-to-day kind of like keep up, no fucking thank you. I'm not interested. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I need to win the lottery, so I can pay somebody to do that shit that I don't want to fucking do. we're getting close to time. So I would say this. If I won $1 billion, whatever business is great. Whatever property, whatever toys, whatever, great. There are 3, 4 things that I would do that would be like indulgent for me. And you know me, I'm not the indulgent guy. Like I never have been. I often get teased that, I mean, like my fucking belt is older than my son. Because I buy quality and I want to buy something that lasts. You know what I mean? So, but I'd give you the shirt off my back if you needed it. And I've been teased about that over the years. Like, Steve, what do you want? It's, Christmas or your birthday or it's this. I don't want anything. I don't want fucking anything. I don't accept gifts well. But if I'm going to be indulgent, there are a few things. Now, what I'm curious about is,
Yes.
what's your indulgent automotive purchase?
Indulgent automotive purchase would either be a big pickup truck or a Jeep Wrangler. If I was really getting crazy, maybe one of the Annihilators.
Well, you're just out of your fucking head, aren't you?
I'm not a big
You've never been a big auto guy. Like, in the sense of
yes and no. I'm not a race car guy. There are things called speed limits. Sports cars, not really into it. If I'm going to buy a fancy vehicle, it's going to be an RV. I mean, I was in a position where I pulled up with my RV and a guy had a Shelby Mustang next to me and was like, I'd rather have the Mustang. And I was, does it have a refrigerator?
Yeah.
No. Do you have your own bathroom? No. Sucks to be you.
Right. and him saying that shows his stupidity. I mean, you've got a beautiful rig and you can go anywhere.
Where I'm going. And we like to travel. We like to see stuff and have experiences. I would I would buy a larger RV just for traveling, see the world, see the country, experience things. As for again, a Jeep would be cool. I like to drive over things. You can't really drive fast in a Jeep. It's like running with plywood. They're not built to be speedy.
No.
They're built to oh, you stopped. I'm just going to go over you.
Right.
Later.
Yeah. See ya, bitch. Is there anything else that you think would be incredibly indulgent? For you?
Not really.
Just for you. I mean, maybe that's obviously you play many instruments, but specifically bass. Maybe there's somebody's bass that you would want.
Very picky when it comes to musical instruments. I've gotten to that point where.
But I mean, like maybe you were doing it as a collector. You're like, I'm going to this auction and I'm going to have the opportunity to buy instruments from several of my favorite musicians.
I can see the appeal of that, but I can't say yes.
Good on you.
It's just one of those. I have a select few instruments that I really enjoy, like makers that meets my finicky taste. And by saying that, I refuse to buy any instrument that is the fretboard is made of rosewood because it's an endangered species, and I refuse to give money into that horrible practice. Just my personal thing. Gibson is one of those that I won't buy because they love to throw in exotic rosewood. Well, thank you for hurting the environment.
Okay. Now, would you build yourself a recording studio though?
Yes, I probably would. Nowadays, recording studio, it would be just for my own indulgence to jam with friends, record shit, just for the hell of it. Um, it's very easy to do nowadays. I mean, my RV is kind of like a recording studio now.
Yeah, no,
I've
it
got
is.
my
Well, your
a
RV
bass and two
is
guitars.
well,
Um,
not just your bass and two guitars, but on top of that, you running a podcast studio out of it.
well, I've got a very nice microphone that reproduces my voice very nicely. Thank you
Yes,
very
you do,
much.
and you're welcome.
Um, and I just have fun. I mean, uh, it's a different feeling from sitting in a practice space, sweating your ass off and trying to write something versus sitting by a campfire with a guitar just plucking away,
Yeah, yeah.
watching the trees.
People don't relax enough nowadays. Like everyone's pushing 150%, not even 110. You know what I mean? Like the idea of being able to do this podcast as an example, I think is for both of us. At least I'm going to only speak for myself, but I think it is for both of us. This is the opportunity to do something indulgent that
Yes,
is
that is true.
that I don't expect anything from. You know what I mean? I'm doing this because I want to share thoughts and ideas with whoever wants to participate, whoever wants to listen.
Yes.
You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to even like me. You don't have to listen to me. But the goal is that this is something that, in a way, honors our mother who passed. Who gives because of that, we are in a situation where, after a number of years, not really for any other reason than we were just separated and unable to communicate a lot. Not that there was any bad blood or animosity, but this is giving us an excuse to forcibly see and talk to each other on a weekly basis, unlike what we had because both of our lives had gotten so busy and we just weren't able to have that kind of communication. So
True.
with or without the lottery, I would say that my indulgence right now is this, and I enjoy it. And I enjoy it because I'm able to, for whatever reason we do it, is not important to the listener, but we're able to do something that hopefully brings people a little bit of laughter, a little bit of joy, a little bit of information, and a little bit of aggravation, maybe. You know, they get fucking pissed off with our
Sometimes
opinion.
it's good to aggravate someone in order to make them think.
I think so. And it's even better to make them laugh because it opens their mind to new ideas and possibilities.
This is true.
So as I wrap this up, I'm going to give you my indulgences. Okay.
Yes.
When it comes to a car, and this wouldn't be a daily driver by any stretch of the imagination. My daily driver would either, I would probably have, a Jeep, probably a two-door Rubicon.
Could I pick an 80s DeLorean with a
absolutely
time machine built in?
Yeah, absolutely. That's all part of it.
Go ahead.
So for me, it would be my daily driver. You have to have a pickup truck when you have any property. I mean, it's almost inevitable. So you have to have some sort of, whether it's a, half ton, 3/4 ton, whether it's a dually, whatever, you just need it. You know what I mean? And whether you put a plow on that or you put a plow on something else, you need that when you have a larger property. And when I say larger property, I'm talking about anything that's 5 acres or more. That's a larger property. You just probably are going to need a pickup truck.
Yes.
So I would have one of those.
Special vehicle.
That would be like, for the property. My daily driver would probably just be a 2-door Jeep Rubicon. I just think that they do the job and I like them. Mm-hmm. Would I trick it out? Yeah, I'd fucking trick it out. Would it be ridiculous and stupid? Probably just shy of does this guy have a small dick?
It would be over the line of ridiculous, but not quite to that line of stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Really, so you look at it, you go, well, that's not how you bought it. No, I put a little heavier duty stuff on. I put a little bigger wheels on. I put, a little effort into it.
As a Jeep driver, we do drive around and, oh, that's a city Jeep.
You can tell the difference. You can tell the difference. For my big, kind of like stupid purchase, there's two, if I'm honest. The first one would be a Resto Mod 69 Corvette or 69 Camaro. That would be one. See, here's where I can get a little bit lost, because there's several vehicles in the 60s that I really like, that I would really want, right? Like a 68 Cadillac. I mean, come on. It's fucking gorgeous. It's just gorgeous to look at. And then, I mean, I could go on and on about muscle cars, but I think I would probably take the Resto Mod Camaro, and then maybe I think it's a 65 Lincoln, the one with the suicide doors that you saw in Matrix. It's just something I like looking at.
Something about it.
I don't know that I would want it.
I have a soft spot for really old Mercurys.
Oh yeah, so. I mean, there was definitely some style that went from mid to late 50s to early 70s. Yeah, that you don't even, in all honesty, you probably don't even want to drive them, especially if they're stock. You know what I mean? Because they shitty brakes, shitty handling, but they just have a style. That's why I say Resto Mod. I would probably go Resto Mod across the board on these. But there's a certain kind of style to these vehicles that's just gorgeous and really brings you in. But my big nut purchase would be a Ford GT. And I'm not sure which one, okay, because there's like 3 or 4 versions of it, like current, since they brought it out. I'd have to really look into that deeper. But the reason is that as a kid, I had a Hot Wheels car that was a Ford GT. It was the Ford GT40, right, that they won Le Mans with. And as a kid, I had such a visceral response to that Matchbox car that when I saw, I didn't know what it was. I just loved that car. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea it was a Ford or that it was a GT40. I had no idea, right? Ford brings out the Ford GT, and I'm like, that's my Hot Wheels car. So that, to me, it's not that I need to, go dick swinging with a big fancy fucking sports car. It's that would, and when I say as a kid, I had that one, I think, before you were even born, and I know I had it well after you were born. Like probably 7 to 8 years after you were born. So this was a car that I had just as a toy that was so important to me that I kept it the better part of 10 years and maybe longer. I'm not sure when Mom threw out all my Hot Wheels. But it was visceral to me as a child. So to me, it's not even that it is what it is. It's that's my childhood memory of happiness in its purity. I mean, just purity. Like, oh my God, I love the way that little car fucking looks, and that makes me happy. Like, it was as pure could be. You know what I mean? So like I said, it's not like I gotta have a fast car. Like, if that car had a 4-cylinder in it and couldn't make it to 100 miles an hour, I'd still want that fucking car because of the way it looks.
There's also a part of me that has enjoyed certain experiences where I've been, I was at a casino and went into the high roller area to go specifically to the bar. Figured they would have very top shelf bourbon or scotch. And was like, I'm going to get a scotch or a bourbon. And I'm looking over the choices. I am in overalls, jean overalls, a Carhartt shirt, a scally cap. I do not belong there. And clearly the bartender, both times this has happened, was Can I help you? Oh, I'm just looking to see what you have. And I would pick out bottles like, do you have that? What's behind that one? And each time, I wasn't trying to be a jerk, but it was always something that I already had in my personal collection. I'm looking to try something I don't have.
Right.
And I'm like, what about that one? Which one is that? And he handed me the Weller Special Reserve, and I'm like, I've got that. Um, do you have any other Wellers? Do you have this? And I'm rattling off stuff, and no. Like, all right, never mind then. And he was like, you didn't see anything you really wanted to try? And like, no, I've got all of these. I
Mm.
was looking for something I don't have. But good day.
Yeah. Good day, sir.
Good day, sir.
All
Your
right.
selection sucks.
So as we wrap this up, I'm going to give you two more. Okay.
Okay.
On my
Sorry.
end.
Go ahead.
No, this is what this is about. So, I would my true passion has always been motorcycles. I
Yes.
would want to try my best, and I don't know how good I would do, but I would want to try my best to create a very, very complete motorcycle collection of classics, like a museum.
Yes.
I would probably find the need in order to supplement that ridiculous idea, that money pit of an idea. I would probably need to start, selling motorcycles new. So I would probably have to have a business attached to it where you could buy a new motorcycle, probably multiple and many, 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 many brands to try to make it as profitable as possible, as big as possible. But it would only be like, I don't care about the idea of, oh, I've got the biggest motorcycle dealership, and like that doesn't interest me at all. I don't want that part of it.
You want to be selective.
The only reason I want that, or I would need that, is to be able to afford, without pulling too much out of my own pocket, the museum.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because once you spend $1 million on a motorcycle, well, you're out of fucking $1 million until you sell that motorcycle and hope you make it back. You know what I mean? Like if you're buying
and believe me, I'd be there going, Steve, do you really need that?
Well, that's the thing. Like I would start it off probably just doing the Japanese models because those are going to be more reasonable. The CB350s, the CB750s, stuff like that, where you can get them for 10 grand or less. Build that up. But then you get into the true classics when you're talking, a 1906 Harley, or you're talking, a 1924 Indian Boar Track Racer, or whatever the case may be. Even when you're talking a 48 Harley, you're still talking big bucks if it's all legit, if it's all right, everything is in order the way it's supposed to be. But that would be, that's like the indulgence of all indulgences. And
passion.
It's just a stupid passion. It's just, man, look at the beauty and the art of that. I mean, the idea that you can just take a frame, two wheels, handlebars, and an engine, and have so many variants of that throughout the course of history, and so many that are, when you're talking, some of these models are just, you look at them and you go, it's just fucking art. It's just art at this point. That's what I like. You know what I mean? Like, I want it to be functional. Yeah, I want it to run. I'd love to be able to hop on it at any given moment and have it, so well maintained that I could take it for a rip up and down the street. But it's the idea of preserving the history of it, that beautiful artistic history of motorcycles, that really gets me off. Now, with this, I will close it. If I won the lottery, and I don't even have to win the lottery. I mean, if we get a rabid enough, listenership, if we get fans, if we can build this ridiculous little podcast into something, I will, and I know you will too, sign on to do Elsie's Little Pickles. legit, an actual brand of that you can go into a grocery store and get
canned pickles.
Canned pickles.
Our mother's recipe.
Yep, I've got it. When we cleared out the house, I was able to find the recipe that had been missing for 30 years. She had lost it, and found the recipe, and would absolutely love to make that a reality. That's the one thing I think I would want, regardless of the lottery. The one thing that I do hope that we get to the point of being able to do is, whether as a partnership or on our own, having enough revenue off of this to do what our mom always wanted to do, which was create her own brand of pickles, which is the reason for the name of the show. And with that, I think that is a pretty solid summary of what you do with $1 billion that you win in a lottery.
Yep. Now that we're done, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket.
I am too. I think that's a great idea. And until next time, peace out.
Peace and hair grease.